Okay. Hello, people. This week is The Man with the Golden Gun. That's right. James Bond book. Is this the first book? I'm not exactly sure about the order. It's the first that I have. I think I have two of them. Now, I watched like all the Bond movies in like a massive marathon one time. But, you don't remember everything. So I didn't remember the story of The Man with the Golden Gun and how close it is to the movie. So I can't really compare it to the movie in that sense. So I'm not going to be doing that. But that's why I got it, right? It's James Bond. It's the book, not a novelization, mind you. Not a novelization. I've never read Ian Fleming's original, sort of what he wrote down before the movies were made. Let's give it a go. And I'm giving this a 4 out of 5. A 4 out of 5. It's actually, I almost wanted to give it a 5. But a bit short, let's say. I don't know why that hurts it, but in my head it kind of does. For readers, right? Do I want to give it a 5? I mean, it can go really well for a casual. That's usually the biggest hurdle on a 5, is can a casual actually read it? But it doesn't feel like there's enough meat on the bones for a reader. I'm gonna stick with 4. You don't have to. I don't know. This is tricky. This one's a tricky one. But I'm gonna stick with the 4 because of the language, not bad language, not bad writing. I would just say not meaty, if that makes sense. So, for you readers, it's not this heavy soup, so to speak. But you can recommend it to your non-reader friends, these normies, the casuals, as we say. You can easily recommend it to them. There's enough that happens here. It's short, palatable. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of spycraft. And it's... All right, where was I? Hold on. It's sensual without being sleazy. So it does have sort of your adult, sort of like the movies, a lot of strong innuendo, sexy time. I mean, it's in the book, but nothing gratuitous. So, I think the movie would be a good judge. If you think the movies are over the line for a child in the sexy time department, then I wouldn't recommend this to a kid. Be a good gauge, oddly. I wouldn't recommend it to a kid. Okay. So, the book just starts. Now, this is what I like about his writing is very economical. So, a lot of things that might take time to build up, he doesn't bother with. He just jumps right in the slipstream. We just start at a office. We started in an office. So if you have, this will be an office and Jamaica. Those are essentially our settings. And in both spots, it's the description folded into the situation. So he can spend time talking about the office, how things are laid out. but it's in a sense that the position of things might matter, right? So if you have to fight this individual, it matters that the desk is there, that the door is there, that there's a window frame here, right? You might grab the window frame. It might fall and trip you. This kind of thing. Same with Jamaica. We get great descriptions of Jamaica. The airport is hot, tropical, but it's always in the sense of the spycraft. So we have a guy coming into the office, and it's James Bond. But they all think that James Bond is dead. He's been gone for a year. So maybe that happened in one of the other books. I'm not entirely sure, but you don't need any of the other books. You don't need any of the other movies. You don't even need any foreknowledge of James Bond to enjoy these books. He comes across very quickly in the course of the story. He's cool. He's a cool cat. He's a spy. The works. It all really comes off the page very well. So don't worry too much about if you don't know all the James Bond lore or anything like this. He's in this office. They think he is dead, and you get sort of like a behind the scenes. We'll hand him a newspaper that has heavy ink. This is a guy who sounds nice, but he's playing the good cop to the bad cop that would come. You know, just normal conversation on the phone is stringing the time along to get a trace, to do all these things, right? All a bunch of little things. There was one part where he doesn't like, he's talking to M, the guy behind the scenes, because they don't know if this is Bond or not. Again, it could be like plastic surgery. Who knows what happened? This person's been gone for a year. He says he's back. The guy says he didn't, what he says, he fluffed on his favorite cigarettes. And that was enough for this guy to be like, I don't want anything to do with this. And I love that. Spies, right? Your classic spies, they're in a world full of lies. And professional liars. People purposefully lying to mislead, of tricks, of misinformation, right? So now, how do you function like that, right? This is what they do. Sort of spies, I feel like criminals do this a lot too. Not that I hang out with criminals, just the sense that I get from interviews, things of this nature. They take very small amounts of information and then just make logic leaps, just assumptions, and then move with those assumptions because it's better to be safe than sorry. Right? So you don't know what your favorite cigarette was. It's all that I needed to know. It might have been he just didn't want a cigarette today. Right? Or it could be something massively nefarious. They go with the massively nefarious, right? I love that spies do this. And it's throughout this book, right? We take very small things and let them marinate in our spy brains, so to speak. And then that becomes actionable information. It's as good as fact to them. They don't need to then sit and like the police, I got them on camera with a wiretap. They don't bother with all that. They don't have time. It's too deadly. He goes in, and they agree to let him talk to M. Your boy M, or girl, depending on which M you like the best. And he's doing one of these, like, commie conversations, like, you know, the y'all have been starting wars forever, you use me, this kind of fun comment. And then M is just arguing back. But behind the scenes, because he gives you inner thoughts, M has the feeling that, what does he say? Death. He just invited death into his office. We do a lot of that for oh, gone? Quit messing with the desk, bro. We do a lot of that for, let's say, the ambiance here really fills in a lot of the story. Right? So if we're two people at a desk, right, it's Bond there and M is sitting here. That's just a simple conversation. But when you fill it with these type of verbiages, death and venom and this kind of thing. You get the sense that, it's more like the predators in the room. And there's this heightened dread, this heightened sense of danger in just normal rooms. We do this throughout the book. It's very fun. It's very fun. He ends up trying to shoot M, right? Now, M has one of these, like you hit a button and one of those, a screen comes up or something and stops the bullet. I think I've seen these, actually. I think I saw one where they were designing it for, like, to save politicians, or it's like in part of the president's, like, little desk that he travels with is this technology that could stop a sniper rifle or something. It's pretty cool. I don't know if they had this technology when he wrote it, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, stops the bullet, and then you would like, oh, he's going to get tackled, this and that. No, we just cut away from all of that, right? So next, we get, again, it's a short book, but it ends up denser than you think. You end up with an excellent sense of these people. M is, they talk about him at a bar, at a special club, drinking more wine than he normally does, right? And then he's looking at this file. He's very intense looking at this file. He comes back to the office and Moneypenny complains. It's a side note. Moneypenny complains about a smell. They've done some kind of scientific detoxing or some mess to his office. And she's just like, we'll just keep the windows open. And for a second you think, is this going to be like some kind of another spy ninja's going to jump in the window? No, none of that happens. All it is for you to get a sense of, what is it? A normal, everyday office. It's a very humanizing little moment. And I think that's a key element to this. And I want to say the British do this, but, it's not like I've gone around and studied a bunch of cultures. But I feel like the British do this better than anyone, where they can blend business and personal better than any other group. So, on the business end, he understands that he has a special agent who has been brainwashed. Is that fair or unfair? It doesn't matter in his world. That's a fact, right? But it's his friend. And he's also good at his job. So M is now trying to think of a way to fix the problem. At some point, if it goes, he'll have to, write up the full what happened. But until then, he can just leave out the part where he almost died, right? He can just say, Mr. Bond lost it a little bit. Right? One of these sort of, you glaze over it. But if he doesn't fix it, right? And then you're like, how can he fix it? He goes, they won't forget unless some action happens and some time happens. Meaning, if he can find a way for Bond to earn his way back in. But how do you do that in the spy world with an agent you may not be able to trust? Right? This is the thought that's going through his head. This is what the file is. He's reading over a file of one Scaramanga. I think I'm saying that right. This is your man. This is your man with the golden gun. Again, I love how efficient this is. It's literally a man reading a file. And the file is just the character description. His height, he's a huge guy, powerfully built, strong as a fighter, excellent marksman, right? If you built a prototype of who could kill Bond, this would be it. It says he's killed at least 5 British agents, amongst other agents from other agencies, and that he is, a killer of killers, sort of like your King Snake. That's what I was thinking. The book didn't say that. I was thinking like a king snake, because the king snakes are the ones that eat other snakes, right? So he's thinking, here's this prototype killer. And in the file, it has a bit where he has like a third nipple, which is just such an odd descriptor. It sticks in your head. This time it starts to introduce sort of our locations. Fun locations, right? You're used to a lot of spy stuff being Europe for some reason. I think because the West Germans were there or whatever. Or the Ruskies are there. But this is a bunch of Nicaragua, Panama, your South Americas, your Guianas. Fun tropical environments for some spycraft. At the end, he gets a story, because we're trying to square away why he is this way, right? And by we, I mean the agents in the book, in lore. There was an elephant. He worked in a circus and there was an elephant. And it got loose. The locals didn't know once its handler has it, it's safe. So they kill it, right? Rip elephant. But this just sends Scaramanga off. He shoots the cop right then, YOLO's out, and has just been a criminal ever since. A criminal who seems to like killing people. What does it say? It's he's exacting his vengeance for his lost friend. And you get the part where they end with that sentence, and we cut to M. He just says, fair enough. I love it. Fair enough. Little moments. M's cool in this. M's cool. Bond's very cool. The enemies are everybody's very cool in this book. M wants to send him to kill this guy. Now, it's weighing heavy, not just because it's, you know, it's weighing heavy, not just because of what's at stake, right? So if he can't do this, he can't get back in sort of the fold of the spycraft, and his friend is out of this job. But it's also weighing on him because he's sending him to someone who's able to kill his friend, who more than likely will end up killing his friend, as he's done other agents. It's almost a death sentence. That's the level it takes to get James Bond out of this hole. But that's what he has to do. He signs it and he sends them. Now, next cut is... Oh, the chapters have your fun... Your chapter titles are like your fun James Bond kind of spy stuff, right? One of them's Inner Glass, very darkly, right? They're all like this. They're all these kind of fun chapter names. Do they connect? Probably some way, but it's just a mood setter, so to speak. So we cut from that to Jamaica. Now, what we don't get is too much of how he got unbrainwashed. We don't get too much of how he got to Jamaica. We don't get too much of what his plan is, or him receiving the message, you know, the mission, all this sort of other stuff. We just cut the crap out, move right along. Makes for it's a short book, but it's very efficient, and it feels denser than sort of its length. They say he got whatever they call ECG treatments. He got 24 of these shocks to his brain when America only allows 14 or 18. Because it's James Bond, he can take it. Right? Bond ends up at a bar. Now, can we say this is a bit convenient? Maybe. But, you know, if you're sort of looking for a person, odds are, you know, he has intel or something. He ends up meeting Scaramanga, like, accidentally in, like, the first bar he comes in. Now, it may not have been the first bar. I think it kind of was. He's planning himself in a zone where the guy is in, you know. It's like, I'm planning myself in the tiger's hunting ground. So, odds are the tiger might show up. So, it's not as convenient as it feels, but it kind of feels convenient, but you just move along. He meets the Scaramanga. The Scaramanga doesn't know he's an agent. He needs to kill him. And that guy hires him. He says, I need sort of a party planner kind of guy, but one that's okay with criminal stuff. This is cool too, right? Because I'm sitting here thinking, like, what if it's me in a bar and there's this Scaramanga guy? Well, he'll know instantly by how I act in every way, right? With like we were saying earlier, with those little clues. They only need a little bit of a clue to understand that I'm a normie, right? 1 or 2 words in, he's like, this is a normie. Don't need to hire him. He doesn't know the criminal world. It's not what I need. He's not useful to me, so it's just going to be a simple conversation and we move on. But a criminal talking to a criminal, or right, a criminal talking to a spy, they are in that underworld. So it's like a speakeasy, right? So he says a few words, and then I think you get that the guy picks up on the fact that this is a person in not James Bond. He calls himself like Mark or something like this, right? The thing is, he's aware that this guy is aware of their world. You know, like vampires that can talk to each other or see each other across the room or something like this, right? It's very fun to think about. Wouldn't like us normies aren't in danger because we don't know the right words to say. So he hires this Bond, and Bond's like, this is great. I can be right next to him. He was thinking to shoot him right then, actually. And I was thinking, why don't you shoot him right then? But then he goes, there's witnesses. And how would I clean up the mess? And then you're like, oh, right, because he is sort of official. He has to do things in a proper way. He's not a criminal. Complicates it because he spends a lot of time with the person but can never find... Like, he's in the car, right? And he's like, I could just shoot him in the back through the driver's seat, but then these other guys I'd have to deal with. Or here's this moment, right? But they're in the middle of a meeting and I wouldn't be able to get away. We take some time to discuss criminals. Criminals start to show up. He's going to have some kind of like conference for criminals, right? And it's some European, someone who's probably KGB, and a mob guy, and I think someone else. They literally just meet up in this guy's hotel to talk business. And it's, can you bring me product, right? Cocaina. Can we do this? Can we do that? And it's more involved than just, we're going to ship drugs, right? We're talking about illegal casinos. We're talking about, and the what is it? We were talking about very convoluted real estate deals, right? It got fairly convoluted as to how this works and makes who money and what's going on. I'm like, I didn't understand half of what's going on with the real estate. The coolest one to me was the sugar futures. You know, like, what are we talking about? Well, if you have one of those large tankers, right? This is their idea. You have a large tanker full of sugar from somewhere, and you offload it, you'll get paid at the rate of sugar. So, if sugar futures are down, or, you know, they're down, you park the boat. You park the boat and leave it until the futures come up so that you'll get paid more, because who's going to offload when there's not enough sugar? Well, there's also the problem of the sugar's not on land. So your soda companies, your liquor companies, all the people who actually need the sugar are now pressuring Congress to do something to get the sugar on land, right? It seems small. I swear one time Newt Gingrich was talking about this. He used to be Speaker of the House, and he was talking about the biggest problems he had was dealing with the sugar lobby. And it always stuck in my head because it seems so, like, who cares about sugar? But the sugar lobby apparently is super powerful. You're thinking NRA or, you know, the teachers union. They're like, nah, sugar. So funny. So our Scaramanga is out here burning sugarcane fields, right? To affect that market until he gets paid in a kind of a way, or until the sugar prices go up enough to let the boats in, and then he'll let more crop grow. And I'm like, well, it could actually get down to that, right? Because the stock market's not just what's happening. It's a projection. So if a bunch of investors see sugar canes keep burning up in Jamaica, they'll go, well, sugar prices are going to go up. And then so futures go up or down, or however the market's going to work then. And I'm like, I mean, I know this is a book, but I wonder how often that actually happens. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't wonder too much, right? I don't need a visit. That was the funnest one. It's like, it really felt criminal, right? Like, these are not just thieves, these are brain level criminals doing high level criminal stuff. It's pretty cool. We meet a Mary Goodnight. Yes, it's your classic Bond girl name. She comes to warn him that one of the Europeans is there actually trying to kill him. So he has a guy trying to kill the notorious James Bond, but doesn't know what he looks like. James Bond is trying to kill the man with the golden gun. And the man with the golden gun is like ready to take all comers, right? He's deadly as it is. So it's a fun little triangle that starts to happen. She ends up... The spycraft goes and goes, right? And it's a lot of, did he say that because he's on to me? This kind of thing. And I don't think, the Scaramanga never really found out that it's James Bond. He's aware a James Bond is looking to kill him. He didn't know this is the guy. But he was going to kill the guy either way. Right? So it ended up it is like, I don't care either way if he's a spy or not a spy. I'm going to kill him. Feed him to these alligators. So we end up on a train. And he makes a big show like a Wild West villain. He goes, and look, James Bond's girlfriend. And out on the tracks, he sees this blonde tied to the tracks. And he thinks instantly, like we think, that it's your Mary Goodnight. So he just springs into action. Bullets start flying. He's slinging some back. I think he gets hit in the shoulder. He goes down, Scaramanga goes down, and the last second he sees, because he wasn't able to stop the train, but the last second he sees the thing hit, and it's just a mannequin, right? So it was a trick that he fell for, but he kind of had to fall for it, right? Because he can't risk this lady just dying. She was safe the whole time. He's then trapped on the train, and other agents come and save him, right? And so he thinks everything's good. At the last second he looks, sees motion, and it's Scaramanga. Got hit, but he's not dead. So he's like, ah, crap, I gotta follow him. So we follow him out into the swamp, into the reeds and whatnot. He catches up to him. This is where the what do I want to say? There's more depth in it than I would have thought before I started. And this scene specifically is the one that's going to stick out in my mind. He's there, right? He's propped up against a tree or something, wounded. And Bond has a gun on him. But he hesitates, right? And there's an unarmed human. He could just take him into custody. But his assignment was to kill him. And he's dealing right in that moment with sort of the moral, the human conflict of killing someone, right? So often you see from the movies, it's just random killing, emotionless. Not in this. In this book, it affects him a whole lot, and that the bullet wound he got is sort of draining his energy. He says he's thinking like the will to kill this man is going with that as well. That if he gets too much more weak, he's not going to have the strength morally to kill him. That he'll be like, no, we'll do this other way. And the Scaramanga thinks or is playing like, you're an agent, you won't kill me. Right? And we get this great back and forth between words said and thought with Bond, because the Scaramanga never flinches. He's never worried. He never shows in his face at all any kind of fear, no hesitation. And Bond, for a second, is actually wondering, like, what is it? What is it that keeps his will so iron strong in the face of what could be 100% death? Right? He fakes like, can I get one last prayer in? I'm a Catholic. So Bond's going to give him a second, and he strikes, right? Like lightning quick, like a panther or something. And almost kills Bond, right? He almost reaches a knife and almost stabs Bond. But then Bond, you know, of course, Bond kills him 5 times in the chest or whatever. There ends the man with the golden gun. Pretty cool. It's not how I thought it was going to end. I don't know how I thought. I thought it was going to be like a duel, like we draw guns or something. And I got the full train scene and everything, like a spy movie. Very fun. We have a wind down bit here at the end where he gets a letter that says they want to make him a knight. Sir James Bond, right? And at first he's honored. He's going to accept. He's thinking of accepting it. But then, and again, this business, but also personal mix. He's thinking, and he's like, I'm a spy, right? We're spies. That means everything we do is secret. So if I accepted it, I'm not secret anymore. I can't be a spy. That's A. But B, and for him, I think more importantly, is everything they do is secret. So no one knows about it or will ever know about it. So when they go to the little spy club, you know, like a country club, that's where you just tell the stories. And that's where certain agents who died in the line of duty, they get to be remembered in a kind of a way, right? And the young ones have to sort of sit and listen, even though they're more concerned with their next mission. He's imagining himself becoming one of those old heads, you know, keeping the spirit of his comrades sort of alive by retelling these stories, and that those young ones will have them and do the same when they get old, the ones that survive, right? And I'm like, that, again, it makes you feel the personal, the connection with these people. It's not just, you know, world domination. It's this small group of people, this small social circle that's taking these blows when someone dies, that's taking these issues personally, but then also has this job of safeguarding their country, you know, for Queen and country and all this. It's a fun little mix. And that's how the whole story goes. You constantly feel that intermixing. Again, I didn't expect it from this book. It's more depth than I expected. I thought sort of just a spy book. You get a lot more depth. He ends up staying with Mary Goodnight while his wounds heal. You know, your classic, he's in love, but he knows it's not going to last. We all know it's not going to last. But you know, you'd be ungentlemanly just to leave her alone, right? The very end of this now, I read this as an audiobook. The Audible that I had is read by my boy, Kenneth Branagh. Excellent reading. But he also gives you a little quick what he thought of the book at the very end. It's a cool little nugget that all the audiobooks don't give you, but of course he's famous, so they just tacked it on. It's very cool. It's very cool. So if you're gonna listen to it, I'd listen to the Kenneth Branagh version just for that little extra tidbit. He does a good job reading too. Okay. I think I've blabbed long enough. But a short book, fun book. Go check it out. Ad time. These are my books here. You can go and buy them on Amazon if you want to help the channel. I mean, you can subscribe or not subscribe. I sort of see that as convenience. If you like these videos, you know, subscribe. If that's the easier way for you to find them. If not, it doesn't bug me. Not too terribly much. I'm trying to sell my books, not, I guess, make money off a YouTube channel. Let's see if it works. Okay, people. I will talk to you all next week.